Today, I'll be sharing my point of view for the events which led up to my January 2024 reban. I firmly believe that the current penalty of a life sentence is unwarranted. For the reasons I'll discuss in this video, I propose that I'm unbanned at some point between now and 2025 and subject to permanent probation. If I slip up in any way, then I'll leave the melee scene peacefully and no one will ever hear from me again. Until then, I just want one more chance to be a part of the community I love. I hope that this video can reach NYCMelee as well as the national tournament organizers. I'm sorry to all of you for the inconveniences. I hope that we can reach a more reasonable outcome in which we remain on good terms with each other. I still have a lot to offer the melee community, and so I don't want this to be the end. How's it going, everyone? It's Hacks. Today I'm going to discuss a very important subject within the melee community, which is the fact that I am currently permanently banned. There's a lot of backstory behind how this actually happened and why I believe that it is an unjust ruling. I hope that whether you like me or hate me, that you can give this video a fair review and consider the evidence that I have to present, because I would like to plead a case for a dramatically reduced ruling. To be exact, I've served about half a year worth of time since this ruling was cast in January of this year, and I believe that when all factors are considered, that is a sufficient penalty for what I did. Let me start by saying that if I wasn't banned, I would be one of the biggest contributors in the scene. You would see me at the nightclub downtown every single Wednesday. You would also see me at practically any regional or major tournament that is happening on the weekend. I'd be one of the most active players. That is, after all, why I developed the box, was that so I could become one of the most active players in the scene and not have to worry about hand issues or anything like that. And that part of my career just never reached fruition because of this recent ban that happened. So like I said, I'm going to give the backstory into how and why this happened, because the reality behind the more recent ban is that it had a lot to do with there being a lack of due process surrounding a ban that occurred 3 years ago. For those who remember, 3 years ago, in June of 2021, I was banned for the release of a controversial YouTube video. That video, I take full responsibility for the fact that I deserve to be banned for releasing. However, the stipulations that surrounded that ban were highly ambiguous and unfair. And I found that serving that ban was a lot like navigating a minefield due to how many technicalities there were and just how badly the ban was handled in general. So I'll explain what I mean by that. When I was banned in June of 2021, there was a national level ban statement which carried a recommended penalty of up to 2 years. However, it also carried an indefinite clause. I was very worried about what that indefinite clause meant, but I tried not to think too much of it at the time. Now, when I first got banned, I had phone calls with a handful of tournament organizers, and I asked all of them, how long do you realistically think I'm going to be banned for? And they all gave me the same response. They all said 1 to 2 years. So I said, okay, that sounds in line with what the recommended penalty is suggesting. Sounds fine to me. Concurrently, there was a contract from my local New York City melee community which carried a stipulation that said that I could never speak publicly of the ban. This would prove to be a very cruel and draconian stipulation. It would end up coming into play later. A lot of people, when they first saw this contract, they pointed that out about it, that it seemed like a very cruel stipulation. But again, I tried not to worry about it too much at the time. Something else notable that I figured I'd mention about the NYCMelee contract is that it directly called out the national level contract by saying that the aforementioned ban was stated to have an indefinite length, which we believe leaves all affected parties in limbo as to a resolution. It is our belief that all bans should have a defined end date or be explicitly stated as a lifetime ban. This would end up being exactly the problem later down the line. So I committed to serving my ban sentence, and in January of 2023, I came back to my local New York City melee community. I gradually got along with everyone again, befriended all my old friends again. We were having a great time in 2023. But outside of the nightclub downtown, I was hardly able to attend any tournaments in 2023. In the first half of 2023, I went to like Level Up Expo and the Come Up. That was about it. Then at the 2-year mark, on exactly the 2-year mark, June 4th of 2023, on that exact day, I went to Tipped Off 14. Tipped Off 14 When I went there, I mistakenly thought that I was going to be allowed to go to every tournament afterward because we were now past 2 years, meaning I had served my time. And so if the ban had just carried a flat 2-year penalty, then I'd served my time and I would have been free to go. But it turned out that that was not the case. I was still being banned at the majority of tournaments which came after the 2-year mark. Tournaments like GOML 2023, SmashCon 2023, FET, and Wave Dash 2023, they all banned me. And so I started to feel a strong sense of rejection. I started to wonder, how long does this indefinite ban actually last? So in the summer of 2023, I contacted the tournament, one of the tournament organizers who played a role in administering the initial ban back in 2021. I contacted them 3 times that summer, and all I was trying to ask them is, when does the ban end? Because you see, this was very disorganized. I was just trying to get a response, and ultimately I couldn't get that. I couldn't get a response on either of the 3 inquiries. So from there, in late August, I go to a friend of mine, and I tell that friend that I'm actually thinking about discussing this publicly. See, I said to this friend that I was thinking about inquiring about my situation publicly because I couldn't get a response privately. But I tried to avoid that because the New York City Melee contract explicitly said that I couldn't discuss the ban publicly. So a little more time passed, and then in September of 2023, I inquired with another tournament organizer who I had called when the ban was first administered in 2021. And again, I just asked them, hey, can I ask you some stuff about my ban? And I didn't get a response to that inquiry either. So 2 tournament organizers were ghosting me now. 2 of the people who I needed to get in touch with the most were ghosting me. And so a month later, this is when I started to take action and actually say things publicly to try to get the situation moving. So in October of 2023, I released a video called Melee Community Ban Appeal. Now, this video did not really breach the New York City Melee contract. It was a pretty generic ban appeal, just saying the usual things like, hey guys, I'm ready to come back. I miss all of you. I miss going to the big events, etc. So it didn't really breach the New York City Melee contract. But time continued to pass, and I was still being banned from the majority of tournaments. Most tournaments were banning me past the 2.5-year mark. I was being banned from Santa Paws, which was in late 2023, and then in the beginning of this year, I found out that I was going to be banned from Egg Dog Scramble 2, and then the dagger was when I heard that I was going to be banned from Genesis 10. The reason that felt like the dagger to me is because I wanted this to be the year. I wanted 2024 to be the year where I really attended everything notable. I really, really wanted to go to Genesis 10. And so once I heard through the grapevine that I was being banned from Genesis 10, I committed to making another ban appeal video. This ban appeal took it a step further, because this ban appeal, which was called January 2024 ban appeal, actually tried to argue some of the things that I had argued from 3 years prior. I was promptly, permanently banned from my local community for releasing this video. Now, even though this was a breach of contract, let's consider a few things. For one, I had tried to do everything behind the scenes to prevent things from reaching this point. I had inquired with 2 separate TOs, and all I wanted to ask them was, how do we conclude this ban so that I can just register for tournaments freely again? And I couldn't get a response to either of those inquiries. Then there's also the fact that this got ruled as a permanent ban as opposed to like a 3 to 6 month penalty, to me, was incredibly draconian. It was incredibly cruel. A lot of people pointed that out when they saw this penalty. They said, permanent for this? I mean, people get permanently banned for things like pedophilia and assault. I got permanently banned, technically, because I released a 9-minute YouTube video. When I explain this to people who aren't from Smash, it's difficult to even put into words. the fact that I have to tell them that I'm permanently banned. I got sentenced to life for releasing a 9-minute video, which I think only should have warranted a 3 to 6 month suspension. So that's how it all happened. And from there, I went to several of the TOs behind the scenes, and I said, all I wanted was some due process. You can see that I said this to one person, and then I went to another person. I said there was no due process. No one was responding to me. I didn't know what to do. So eventually I breached the contract. And then there was even an interaction where I asked one of the TOs behind the scenes if I could please repeal the decision to release that video, because I had basically released that video under duress, meaning I was under constraints which pointed me in that direction to release a video publicly. Even though that would go against my own best interests, I still did it because I couldn't get a response privately. So I think, all factors considered, the permanent ban ruling is cruel. I don't think it does anyone any favors. What I'm trying to get at here is that this January 2024 relitigation shouldn't have happened. I think both sides should take fault here, meaning the TOs are at fault for the mishandling of the situation. I'm still at fault. I still, even despite the circumstances, I should not have released this video. I will be the first to confess that. But my mistake was brought upon by their mistake. Because if people had responded to me behind the scenes, then things wouldn't have reached this point. Now, this is a serious matter. This is a very, very serious matter. And I have to transition the video now to pleading for mercy and amnesty. Because you see, I've been isolated for the past 6 months. The truth about the Melee community is that it was my everything. It was my source of financial livelihood. It was my source of social gatherings. 99% of my friends come from the Melee community. I skipped college because I was very confident in my ability to make it here. I had high placements when I was young at tournaments like Pound 3, Genesis 1, Genesis 2, and so I was very confident that I could make it in the Melee community, and by all means I did. But very late into my career, I got entangled in this controversy, and it resulted in this ban, this life-ruining ban now that's being cast against me. I think the moral of the story here is that if the whole thing was going to be this disorganized, then it would have done everyone a favor if the initial ban sentence had just said that it was a flat 2 years. Because if it was a flat 2 years, then that would have meant by June 4th of 2023 that I'm free to go. The whole issue with this ban was the indefinite stipulation, which, once it went so far in excess of the recommended penalty, I started to force the issue. And eventually I did things which went against my own best interests by inquiring publicly and violating my NYCMelee contract. But I maintain that despite this, we should really just ask ourselves if this is a good call for the community, because I promise you it's not. I promise that it would be better for everyone if I was brought back into the community. I think one of the worst things about this is that I'm not being given the chance to see people in person, because people have a really bad idea of me based on what's been happening on the internet. But whenever people see me in person, I always try to be well-mannered. I always try to be helpful and cordial to people. I've never caused problems at an in-person event, at least not in a very, very long time. So I hope that the TOs review this video in full and consider what I have to say, because so much is on the line for me. This decides the trajectory of my life, so I plead for mercy and amnesty in terms of getting me out of this horrible situation. But anyway, my DMs are open. If you took the time to review this, please feel free to contact me. We can discuss things, and I look forward to hearing what everyone has to say. So thank you for watching, and much love to the Melee community. To wrap things up, I figured I'd provide a recap of this video. In June of 2021, I was banned for the release of a controversial YouTube video. The ban carried a recommended penalty of up to 2 years, in addition to an indefinite clause. I phone called several tournament organizers right away in order to clarify the duration of the ban. They all verbalized that it would last for 1 to 2 years. Concurrently, there was a contract enforced by NYCMelee which stated that I was not allowed to speak publicly of the ban. On June 4, 2023, I attended Tipped Off 14. This was the 2-year mark, and so I mistakenly assumed that I'd be able to attend everything past that date. I realized that I was wrong when GOML 2023, SmashCon 2023, FET 2023, and Wave Dash 2023 all banned me. In the summer of 2023, I contacted one of the TOs who administered the original ban on 3 separate occasions in order to ask when the ban would conclude. I could not get a response from them. In August of 2023, I told a friend that I was contemplating making a public statement about my ban. In September of 2023, I approached another TO who I called back when the ban was first administered, but I could not get a response from them either. In October of 2023, I released a video titled Melee Community Ban Appeal in order to force the issue. I would continue to be banned from tournaments such as Santa Paws, Eggdog Scramble 2, and Genesis 10. With the ban having dragged on for so long, I eventually ran out of patience and released January 2024 Ban Appeal. I was perma-banned by my local community for the release of this video. I immediately approached several TOs about the lack of due process which drove me to make the terrible decision to release January 2024 Ban Appeal. I even asked one of the TOs if I could repeal the decision to release that video, which directly implied that I released it against my own best interests. All factors considered, the permanent ban ruling is cruel. I maintain that my mistakes were brought upon by the mishandling of the case. The January 2024 relitigation should never have happened. The Melee community has been my primary source of financial livelihood and friendships for the past 2 decades. I plead for amnesty in this regard. The ban should have been ruled as 2 years from the start. Had these been the rules, then I had served my time. I hope that we can all make it past this and get back on good terms with each other. I mean well for the community and want to attend as many events as I can, as well as contribute however I can. Thank you so much for watching.